Hey, this is Augie, Augie's Locker Room. When you come to the store, you're going to see things that you've probably never seen before unless you've been to a museum. Great items that go back to the Rockney era to the present. Website, augieslockerroom.com. Visit us here or the website.
Notre Dame 32, Toledo 29. And Tim, let's start with that surreal sentence right there in a game where Jack Cohn basically went from, I guess, GOAT to hero in the last minute.
Yeah, 3 turnovers. Brian Kelly bemoaned the turnovers, of course, the pick 6, but with a dislocated finger that trainer Mike Bean pulled back into place, he delivers big time. It ended up being 3 plays, 75 yards, like 26 seconds in order to take the lead. But so many guys, Kevin Austin comes up big to start the drive, and we kept wondering if they were going to get the ball back to Michael Mayer. Brian Kelly talked about how they were bracketing him and made it difficult on him, but he had one-on-one against a linebacker. He was getting an outside shade. He juked him that way and took it up to Seaman at that point. That's good enough. You know, the defense, if the defense doesn't come through in the red zone early in the game, Toledo is scoring some points early, and Notre Dame's in really, really big trouble.
And I think, you know, people are just going to look at this as a poor defensive performance because in the second quarter and in the fourth quarter especially, they had their bright spots again. It seemed like they're getting something under control in the third quarter. 4 straight 3-and-outs, 4 straight third down stops. Jason Ademiyola playing a good game. J.G. Bertrand. But there are still busts, and Brian Kelly just mentioned we just have to get guys on the ground, and I wonder what's stopping them from doing that at this stage.
Well, you know, you play, we talked about it in the preseason, you play an ultra-aggressive defense. I thought statistically at Cincinnati, as Marcus Freeman's tenure there went on, they gave up less and less big plays, but there's an adjustment because you're so aggressive up front, and then you have some missed tackles. There were less today, a lot more last week. But that's a problem. And, hey, look, the offensive line is a mess right now with the injury situation, but when they had to protect Jack Cohn in the game-winning drive, they did, so that's something to build upon. We'll see what Michael Carmody, I believe it was right knee, I know it was his right leg. He keeps mentioning Joe Alt. Tosh Baker had his moments, and he was good in the last drive. But, boy, he is not real quick of foot. I wonder if maybe, we didn't get to this, but I wonder if you flip-flop him and Josh Lugg and let Lugg play left tackle. Not that that's necessarily a solution to the problem.
For the second straight week, Brian Kelly used the term transitioning for defense, and I think you might hear about that again after the Purdue game. Now, we haven't even gotten to, I thought maybe the biggest story until Jack Cohn won the game was the Tyler Buckner package was necessary. They came back in part because of the Tyler Buckner package, including a beautiful RPO to Chris Tyree.
And I think moving forward that you have to keep both in play. If your offensive line can't protect Cohn, you need Buckner in there for a change of pace. If the offensive line can't get the running game going, the conventional running game, you need Tyler Buckner in there to give him a spark. So I think moving forward, it's a balancing act. It worked quite well today. I don't know that those balancing acts usually work out well over the long haul, but for right now, until they get some push up front, that's probably what they're going to have to do.
You're going to need them both but at some point there's going to be film on Tyler Buckner as well, and there'll be faster outside linebackers chasing Tyler Buckner as well. He was making athletic plays, but his presence, I think, allowed Kyron Williams to have the 43-yard touchdown run. Now, we have to give credit to the right side of the line. You're able to crash against Kyron Williams if there is no threat of the run the other way.
Yeah, Kyron Williams with the 43-yarder, is that what you said? His other 15 carries accounted for less than that 43 yards, so it's still a bit of a mess. I know we said this about Florida State having a good defensive front. Toledo does have a good defensive front and a good plan. That's not an excuse for Notre Dame. Now, actually, next week, Purdue really improved against the run last year, so maybe you run into some similar problems. They do not have easy solutions right now for what's happening offensively. Defensively, I thought it was a pretty decent step in the right direction from the standpoint that, I mean, when I turn to you, it's like, are they going to lose this game? And Toledo has 172 yards now. They ended up piling up a bunch down the stretch and in the fourth quarter. Fortunately for Notre Dame, it became a high-scoring fourth quarter, and they scored a little bit more.
I think there's a better chance that Notre Dame can stop the run than they will run the ball well this year. But we have talked at length, and including our previews, they have Kevin Austin and Michael Mayer and Kyron Williams in the passing game, and he made a couple big plays on third down the passing game. They're the differentiators right now, and they're going to need to be in the coming weeks.
Yeah, and the talk that J.D. Bertrand was too slow to play linebacker after last week's game, it's just untrue, and he showed once again today. He is a warrior. Here's a guy, I mean, he basically hasn't started a football game in 3 years, and he's had 2 starts and played really, really well. He's real key to what they're doing moving forward. And, hey, credit to Myron Tagovailoa. Amosa makes the big strip when they needed it most. And interestingly enough, looking at film of Toledo from last year, Carter Bradley made a similar turnover as he was leading Toledo back against Ball State. So he's susceptible, and MTA came up with a big play.
And it should be pointed out in terms of dedication, Myron Tagovailoa-Amosa did not speak with the media afterwards because he had to watch his father's funeral on Facebook, and he stayed here. And had he not been here, it would have been a difficult task for the Irish today. That's it from Notre Dame Stadium, where the Irish hold off Toledo 32-29.